In the first Hell in a Cell match against Shawn Michaels, a great match was followed by a moment that many still look back on to this day. Less than a year later, there was another memorable Hell in a Cell match for The Undertaker, this time against Mick Foley, aka Mankind. Foley wanted to top last year's match, take it one step further, and in a way he succeeded. However, not for wrestling quality. Foley had more brutality in mind and made daring suggestions. The Undertaker was not at all amused.
Every day he would just shoot it down. And then finally he said, "Jack, why are you so intent on killing yourself?"
The match goes down in history as the most brutal Hell in a Cell match ever, especially because of Foley's nasty falls.
Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought either one of these guys would come flying off of that Hell in a Cell. You look up there and it's just, no, that couldn't happen. It'd be impossible. Somebody would be dead.
If you don't do it the right way, he over-rotates, he doesn't make it, you have to deal with that. To be completely honest, I'm just hoping that he hits the table. And as morbid and weird as that sounds, there's a big difference between hitting the table and hitting the concrete.
Shortly thereafter, Foley took another fall from the top of the cage, this time into the ring.
I realized I don't have as many teeth as I used to.
I was just looking down, waiting on him to move.
It knocked me out legitimately.
According to Bruce Pritchard, this was not planned. The actions were so crazy that backstage crew, referees, and friends of Foley stormed the ring. They thought Foley was in a life-threatening situation.
In any given match, on any given night, you're really only a couple of inches away from something catastrophic happening at one point or another.
The Undertaker was also injured during the match. He had suffered an ankle injury, but now had to get from the roof of the cage into the ring. Painful, but he managed it. After further brutal actions, The Undertaker won this encounter. Foley can no longer remember the match due to concussions. In a few years, The Undertaker became a money-making machine for WWE. He was one of the biggest stars, an attention magnet who filled arenas. The fans loved to see him, and the statistics reflect that. WWE reached its highest TV ratings with a match at Raw 1999 between The Undertaker and Steve Austin. These two megastars made sure that more viewers switched to the USA Network that night than ever before. What set Steve Austin and The Undertaker apart was that Taker was at the top as a main event attraction for much longer. Edge expressed his deepest respect for The Undertaker on the Impulsive podcast. According to Edge, the hardest thing is not to get to the top, but to stay there. The Undertaker retained his relevance over decades, primarily by evolving and adapting his character. In retrospect, he calls this his greatest strength.
Probably that's my best attribute. If I started feeling stale, my audience is probably feeling it before me.
The changing over time, the ability to adapt.
He was able to take that character and morphed it.
But I don't think I would have made it through, if I hadn't have changed when I did to go to the American Badass, I would have made it. The character I don't think would have lasted through the Attitude Era.
The Undertaker was very good at recognizing what the fans wanted and what they connected with. This also helped him to recognize when changes were needed. The character change to the American Badass was a risky but very successful decision to protect his character.
I mean, the roots of the character were always the same, but it was just the presentation. And that was just my way of evolving and trying to evolve with the audience.
American Badass!
However, Vince McMahon suggested he return to the Deadman gimmick. Tried and tested, it had already garnered a legendary status, mostly because The Undertaker took it very seriously and went to great lengths to protect his character.
I didn't do personal appearances You got very little of me other than what you saw on TV. And that's what kept people captivated